All right. Today's topic, today's rest day, but today's topic is going to be holding yourself accountable. And the reason I say this is the reason I want to talk about this is because there are a lot of people that are starting the gym right now, and they've used a New Year's resolution to be their motivator to come to the gym. And that's all well and good. But a skill that needs to be learned is holding yourself accountable for the things that you say. So what a lot of people like to do is they like to tell people, hey, like, I'm going to lose this amount of weight. I'm going to do this during the summer, blah, 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 blah. And what happens is a lot of the time it's just talk, right? People will say these things to present a different version of themselves to another person, right? Because they want to make themselves look a certain way, or they want to come off a certain way. And that way could be disciplined. It could be, like they're trying to get standing with that person, regardless. Whatever the reason is, we have to learn to take accountability for what we say, right? If I say I'm going to be on a cut next week, I have to take initiative, right? It has to be me setting up my diet, making sure that I'm on top of things. And I have to hold myself accountable for the things that I say. If I'm going around telling people, hey, I'm going to do this, and they see me and they see that I'm not holding myself to my own word, they're not going to take what I say seriously. They're not. And a bad habit that people get is they say these things and they get the dopamine hit of actually doing it, right? So like, they'll say, oh, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to do this, and your brain feeds off that dopamine hits that happen when you picture yourself in that position. But people need to take it one step further, and instead of getting the dopamine hit of talking and saying these things, you'll find that like when you actually attempt these things and you put your 100% into it, and you actually accomplish little wins, it doesn't have to be large steps, but even just little wins, you will get the same dopamine hits. Your body and your brain will recognize that, hey, like this is actually really cool to do these things, especially the things that you have passion for. Your body will just innately want to do them because that's just, you're naturally drawn to it. So like when you say you're going to do something, guys, don't just let it be something that's just said, right? You don't want to be someone that's just a person of words. You have to be a person of action. You have to take initiative for the things that you want to do. That's just life in general. And it's much better that way, right? Like you will get a lot more fulfillment doing the things that you say you're going to do than just saying it, right? Because just saying it, like you're stuck in this like kind of imaginary world where it's a bunch of what ifs and hypotheticals rather than actually executing what you know you want to do, right? Regardless. So, all right, let's just do these quickly. Yeah. So just keep that in mind. I know it's difficult to take those like beginning steps. And especially if you've developed this pattern of thinking where you say you're going to do something and then you never end up doing it. Your brain learns, whether you believe it or not, your brain learns those things. So like the more you say, oh, I'm going to say, like, for example, the more you say, oh, I'm going to lose weight. summer after summer after summer after summer, eventually you saying, oh, I'm going to lose weight is going to have no effect on your brain whatsoever. Because it's so used to this pattern of you say you're going to do something, you not doing it, feeling disappointed. And because it doesn't want to experience that crash, right, where you feel this dopamine hit and it spikes because you're like, oh, like, yes, I'm all motivated. I have all this reason behind doing this thing. And then you don't do it. And it, boop, like you fall off the cliff pretty much. And your brain comes back to reality. And because that happens so often, your brain just kind of recognizes that, like, hey, like this, why do we need to go through all this torture? We're just gonna, we already know the end result. And you don't want to develop those patterns because that's very hard to unlearn. It's the same thing as developing a skill, right? The bad habits you learn early are going to be hard to get out or to weed out when you really need to, when you want to become someone that's really great. And so developing those like habits, those good thought processes early is what's really important, especially when it comes to this, because the more you can teach yourself that you're capable of actually improving, and the more you can teach yourself that you're actually capable of accomplishing what you want, the easier it will be when you say something and actually like executing it, because you'll have visible proof, right, that you're capable of doing said thing. And not just that you're capable, but like you hold yourself to your what's the word? Your word is more than just word, right? Like it's what's the word? There's conviction behind what you say, right? There's your word is reliable, pretty much, is what I'm trying to say, and your brain will recognize that, and so it'll actually like start preparing you for those things when you say it. Okay. I am a firm believer that you are, or that you become what you say in your mind you will become. So the more you tell yourself that you're not able to do something, or the more you demonstrate to your brain that you're not able to do something, the more comfortable your brain will get with the idea that you are stuck where you are. And you don't want that. Okay, one more. Okay, let's go do some cable crunches. Okay, but let's continue talking about it. And I'll give you an example of how I implement that in my daily life. Or not in my daily life, but just in the gym. That way it's a more relatable experience for you guys. But you guys know, I frequently say that when I think about my progress in the gym, and I think about how I'm going to progress, I always say to myself, oh, I have no limits. Now, is that necessarily practically true? No, because everyone has a peak in which they reach their maximum potential. But it is super, super important to have a mentality that is somewhat unrealistic, and maybe not unrealistic, but more so optimistic about what you're trying to do, because having that negativity and that idea of like, oh, I should just give up, having that kind of mentality, the defeatist mentality, is what prevents a lot of people from progressing in general. Not even like big progress, but just in general progressing. Because they think, oh, their brain does this loop of like, oh, I don't think I can do it, so why even bother trying? And so they just do this huge loop of like wanting to try, not thinking they can, not bothering. And it's just continuous cycle. And so you want to, or at least I do, I want to implement this mentality of I'm capable of whatever I set my mind to. And if I fail at something that I try, I don't take it as like, oh, you suck, Matthew, like you shouldn't do this anymore. You're washed, you shouldn't do this. No, I just, I take a step back and I think about it and I say, okay, how close was I? Well, first off, you think about how close was I to accomplishing what I wanted. If I was like inches away from my goal, you take a step back, you would admire what you accomplished, and you kind of analyze what you did wrong. And you're like, okay, I was right there, but I missed the mark. So what could I have done that like, and and those are the moments where you really have to be completely honest with yourself, and examine where you fell short, or where perhaps where like a lack of effort is, where you had a cheat meal here, you lost some sleep here, you lost some sleep there, or you were just lenient on certain things that you shouldn't be. And everyone has those moments. The only difference between like a pro bodybuilder and the average person is, or a pro bodybuilder and like a somewhat disciplined person, is the pro body's a bit more consistent with their discipline. But that's about it. They all have their own moments where they decide to be lenient on themselves when they know they could push harder. But that's a different topic entirely. So just being honest with yourself and having a mindset that's like almost unrealistic and delusional. And you'll see it a lot where people that are successful, a lot of the time what their advice for people that aren't successful yet, a lot of the time what their advice for them is believe in yourself, because that's all they did, right? They just believed that they were capable of doing those things. And it might seem cliche, but when you really apply it to yourself, you'll see how much it affects not only your progress, but just your mentality to approaching certain things. And it makes you a lot more resilient to failure, because when you fail, you're just, you kind of shrug it off and you're like, okay, try again, right? You got to have the resilience to recognize that failure isn't something that is a bad thing, right? What's a bad thing is not trying at all. So let's warm up and then we'll do 2 sets here. I don't know what it is about these cables or about this gym, but like, I don't know why they refuse to like maintenance their machines. I can feel, when a machine is like, it's not oiled properly, it's missing some like WD-40, and you can feel like the resistance on the bands while you're pulling the weight. That's what I'm experiencing right now. And I don't know why they don't maintenance them. It's not, well, I don't know. I'm not a gym owner, so I don't know how expensive it is to do that, but I don't understand how hard it is to just upkeep the gym that's, that people use. I'd much rather my people have a great experience at the gym than not. But whatever. Maybe that's just me. Alrighty. Nah. Okay. All right. We'll do one more set off camera. And then, yeah, and then we'll go do some decline sit-ups. Alrighty. You guys already know the deal. So we'll do one set to failure. Probably put some weight in our hands. Yeah, should be okay. Nothing too heavy, just something to make it harder because we're gonna do the whole pausing thing that we did last time we did these. So, and I hope you guys can take away from what I'm trying to do. Like I understand that I'm young and I might not seem as like the authority on these things, but if you can take like, hopefully like you understand that I've self-reflected and I've done a lot of thinking about what I want to do or what I want to say and the message I want to put out, because I understand what it's like to be in that space where you kind of feel hopeless and you kind of feel like you don't understand what's going on. And it sucks. It sucks. Because you kind of feel like you're underwater and you don't really know which way is up. But, yeah, I get that. And I want to help you guys understand that, like, even if it's not through me, that you can do it on your own. Or that you can accomplish the things that you say you want to do. And you can go out and do the things that you want to be passionate about. Unbarred, unrestrained, sorry. So, hopefully just that message alone is enough for you guys to kind of take what I say and take it with a grain of salt if you want, because they are my experiences. We are not all the same people. Okay. So, here, 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 here. No. Good enough. Alrighty. Let's go check things out. I had originally planned on doing some biceps today, but I think it's better off that I just leave it for tomorrow. But yeah, this is how we're looking. Looking pretty good, to be honest. But I hope you guys can take away stuff from this. Like, I'm honestly just trying to give the advice that I wish that I had to myself when I was younger. And I say younger as if I'm not like 21 and I'm pretty young still. But you know, you can always learn earlier. So hopefully, you know, you guys can avoid mistakes that I had and mistakes that I made when I was, you know, first getting into things. And that's all I could want, is for people to realize that they can be better, and you know, even better than me, because I know that there's someone out there watching this that, you know, is potentially the next Mr. Olympia, or you know, next big influencer, and all they need is that one little push, and I hope to be that. So with that in mind, I hope you guys did enjoy the content. If you did, please drop a like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.